The Tirreno-Adriatico goes racing proper today. Destination Cascina, 153 kilometers with an inevitable dramatic sprint at the end. Across tailwind means it's going to be a very fast finish. Well, the opening individual time trial, replacing the team time trial, set as a light yesterday, and one man who seemed to burn up the course did an amazing effort very, very early on. It was Van Avermaet, BMC, his teammate Daniel Oss had set the benchmark, and they started to eat into those times. Van Avermaet third quickest. Fabian Cancellara went very, very close to taking the day. This man, though, after what seemed to be a shaky start, there were a couple of those with riders just chomping at the bit. Adriano Malori does not wear the Italian tricolour for nothing. He is Italian time trial champion, and he rode like one yesterday. Nobody went quicker. 6 minutes and 4 seconds his finishing time, and it was a display of real power. So we have our leader, and I guess he gets the chance to do it all again on the final individual time trial in a week's time. Hugely popular winner, and a very modest man as well. Says great to be in control of the leader's jersey. He also leads the point standings, of course. And so the man in blue, which is what you get for leading the Tirreno-Adriatico, is an Italian. Great start to the day. So we are in a beautiful part of the world. We go sprinting this time. So the finish line awaits. Long shadows, as you can see, telling you that it is the early part of the year. Will they be cast upon somebody today? As you can see, the approach is kind of sinuous, gentle, but the pace will be anything but. Can't wait. Everybody knows what's coming, the Milan-San Remo. Looking forward to that. And I guess it's a way of testing your ultimate strength at this part of the year to come to the Tirreno. In fact, it's very common for riders who win here to go on to victory in San Remo. It's sunny, temperature 14 Celsius, and the wind, it's blowing northeasterly, which is making things perhaps colder than it perhaps otherwise would have been. 17 kilometers per hour. Feels stronger than that in some of the gusts, that's for sure. No chance of rain today. So this is what we are dealing with. A couple of little lumps to get on with after an opening circuit of 23.8 kilometers as we say goodbye to Camaiore, and our destination today on the flatlands, essentially. Intermediate sprints carrying bonus seconds along the way, and don't forget there could be some big changes as we head to that last loop in Cascina. Yes, 10, 6 and 4 seconds available at the line. It was such a short individual time trial yesterday. Those seconds could be very precious indeed by the end. So a quick look at how the rises and falls are. A couple of categorized climbs that will give us our climber's jersey. It's green, incidentally, on this race. And then a reasonably uncomplicated run to Cascina. The only thing that's going to get in the way is the wind. Now, it will be a crosswind, of course, on occasion. Cross head for much of the circuit, and then cross tail at the end. But it's a delightful area that we are finishing in. So at the start this morning, it was, of course, all about the sprinters. Who will be in the frame? Well, I think you can almost guarantee it, Mark Cavendish, save for the fact that he's not been feeling too well. But there are a lot of contenders today who can go very, very quickly. Viviani, Bennett, Arndt, Mallory, and of course Cav himself, and they spared us a few words.
Yes, Arndt, you're here, Luka Mezgec is here. What's it going to be today?
Yeah, we are with two good sprinters here. We are not sure how we do it, but we have the global plan to go for a sprint, and in the end we will see who is the sprinter.
Sam Bennett, how do you feel? Big sprint today?
Yeah, it's a hard race. I don't know what to really expect. Form is okay at the minute, but hopefully, there's a lot of strong guys here, but hopefully I can sneak a result.
Elia, big stage for you today. What's the plan?
Yeah, sure, we don't have the stronger team for the sprint because we have some climbers for the GC, but so with Salvatore, Puccio and Ian, we have two strong guys for taking me in the best position for the sprint, and so we know the condition I have, and we know we can win, and we try.
Adriano Mallory, how does it feel to be in the blue jersey this morning?
It's an amazing day. For me, I hope to keep the jersey for today and tomorrow. I don't know. We have Nairo here, so we don't have to make a lot to keep the jersey. But for me, it's enough.
Mark Cavendish, how's your preparation been? How are you feeling about today's stage?
Yeah, I'm not 100%. Obviously, I was sick. I went full yesterday to see my feelings. Yeah, I got the form, but the explosivity is not there, you know. So we'll have to see today. I don't really feel so up for it. We've got a long week. I'd like to really get into the race and then build up for a sprint maybe on Monday and then from Milano San Remo.
So they waved them off today. Our leader, Mallory, who did a fantastic job in the time trial yesterday, clearly thinking more about the team than keeping the jersey. So just after midday, they got themselves underway. Contador looked reasonably relaxed after his shaky start to yesterday. He basically jumped the gun. It wasn't the holder's fault. And just wobbled off the ramp and didn't really seem to get himself mentally sorted out, I'm afraid. Well, beautiful conditions out of the wind, but on some of the crests today it was blowing a little bit, and it wasn't long before we had those who were going to roll the dice doing so in order to get themselves into the break. Keitzer from Lotto Jumbo in the yellow and black, looking rather waspish, did make it up the road. He was there chomping at the bit right from the very beginning. We have BMC represented with Daniel Weiss, he's there. Zardini from Bardiani in lime green. Patrick Conrad and Salerno from Bora, Aragon. We also have Castelblanco and Quintero from Team Colombia. And we mentioned Keitzer earlier from Lotto Jumbo. So they have gone up the road. 7-man breakaway. It was over 6 minutes, the gap at one point. It's down to about 2.5 as we just approach about 60 kilometres to go. We'll find out exactly how much in a few moments' time. But intermediate sprints, Dan Lloyd, worthy of going for.
Well, yes, it's all very close in this race, of course, after yesterday's prologue. So we saw there that That was one of the King of the Mountains, in fact. BMC rider this taking first at the first one, ahead of Quintero. Conrad rolled over in third place and Zardini there in fourth. Not long afterwards, they did go through an intermediate sprint. I can tell you that Conrad won it. We haven't got confirmation yet of who came second and third. Hopefully they'll show us the guys rolling through it in just a few moments' time. Oh, maybe not live coverage, but I can tell you also the second King of the Mountain. Quintero won that, turning the tables on this, so they're actually on equal points at the moment. And given that that was the last KOM of the day, they will just have to see who finishes higher up the order. In fact, there's a prologue yesterday, wasn't there? So it will go down to who's highest on GC. Let me just have a look and get back to you.
Well, I'm glad you corrected yourself there. That saved me having to do it. 63.2 kilometres to go, and 2 minutes and 25 is the gap. Wide open spaces, flattish. We've got plenty of climbing to come in this Tirreno-Adriatico. Not really today. A couple of lumps, almost traffic calming humps. Maybe a little bit more focus than that, just to sort out the jersey, thank goodness. Looking at the blue jersey group right now, the blue jersey is that of the leader. The Tirreno-Adriatico races between two seas, and it's to mirror, I guess, the blue of the Mediterranean and the Adriatic, where we are heading.
So we're into stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico, the 2015 edition, the 50th edition of this race. As you can see, we're down to 62 kilometers to go. As it stands, we have Patrick Conrad winging the first intermediate sprints, Vis and Quintero winging King of the Mountains. We'll be right back on Bein Sports. Back to stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. It's a flat stage today, 153 kilometers. We're down to 61.6 of that as it goes. A 7-man breakaway group with just over 2 minutes separating them from the peloton. We'll send it back now to Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd. You are watching Bein Sports.
29 years of age, fourth in the Pan American road race, of course, in the past. And so, yeah, both of them good workers, I think it's fair to say, for Colombia, where they're hoping to find their form in the mountains, something that was missing in Andalusia for Colombia. They didn't really have it strung together, but maybe now. Apparently it was a bit too cold for them. Well, it's hardly warm today, frankly. Pack just coming through the feed zone with the gap holding around 2 minutes and 12 seconds, as you can see. So just back to talk a little bit more about those in the break. Zardini's here from Bardiani. Now, Bardiani usually punch above their weight in this race and had a series of good results last year on the Tirreno. I'm not suggesting that Zardini can go all the way, but they have got Ruffoni, who can feature on days such as this. There's our two Colombians. And confirmation of the virtual standings for these guys. That's once they factored in the gap that they've got at the moment and the deficit overall. So Kaiser is our virtual leader. Just saw Delio Weiss in the black and red of BMC going through. 29 years of age now, the Swiss. Trentino in 2012 went very well, but mainly in the time trial and likewise elsewhere. Patrick Conrad and Salerno, both from Bora, Aragon. There they are in their black and red. A lot of black and red in the peloton this year. Conrad, 23 years of age. He's an Austrian neo-pro, but Salerno, been around a while, the Italian, 30 years of age now. Won the Japan Tour, took the GC there a few years ago now, getting on 5 years ago. Yes, Conrad did well in the junior tour of Austria last year, but now he's with the big boys, so how much we can expect of him is anybody's guess. Ponsaco is where we're through now, 60 Ks to go. And Dan, this is not going to take an awful long time before we reach the line, because frankly, it's going to be quick.
Yeah, I was actually out riding the course this morning. Started to get the love back for the bike after a couple of years of not wanting to really even see it. So, yeah, I had a look at the last, well, kind of the last 75 Ks. I did this bit, although I only did one lap at the end. I cheated rather than going around twice, as these riders will do when they come here into Cascina. There is some wind out there. I don't think it's strong enough to really split the peloton. In a few moments' time, with around about 55 Ks to go, they'll take a right turn. It's quite open there, a bit of a cross tailwind. Under other circumstances, if the road went on longer like that, it could be a chance for one team to split the peloton, but it then turns right again a few kilometres later, and it quickly goes into a cross headwind, which means it's slightly easier to sit in. So I don't think we're going to see any kind of splits before they come in towards the circuit. Circuit exactly the same as we had last year, 2 lots of 20.6 kilometres. There is a turn, well, there are lots of turns, of course, it being a circuit, but there's one with 4.5 kilometres to go, where they go from a headwind into a cross tail. I think that could be quite a decisive moment when it comes in towards the sprint finish. If the team really does go for it right there, I think we'll see a few people perhaps getting in trouble. It's in that direction and quite open for a K.5 before they get to 3 Ks to go, take a right turn, and it's tailwind then all the way to the finish. So it's going to be very quick from that point onwards, 60 Ks per hour plus. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting finish.
Time trial it was yesterday, a short one. It was a bit of a rude awakening for some teams and a disappointment for others. Orica Green Edge always come looking to do well in team time trials. They regard themselves as kind of world champions in that skill. Of course, they have been. Well, didn't happen for them because the wind blew and unfortunately damaged the road, bringing down all kinds of things like concrete lampposts and the like, which damaged the road surface. And they thought, you know what, it could still be blowing, we'd better not risk it. So it turned into an individual time trial. The likes of Quintana didn't perhaps go as well as he might have thought, and of course the teams who'd sent a team time trialing team along didn't really have their fun. Of those who would have been expected to feature in a team time trial, BMC rode very well indeed, Dan. So carrying individual time trialing talents to the fore yesterday.
Yeah, they did very, very well. Daniel Oss, probably one of his best prologues ever at this level, I would say. And a real surprise to me for Greg Van Avermaet. I mean, it's not a surprise. He's on great form. We've seen that already this year, but I haven't seen him go that well in an individual time trial, albeit a prologue for, well, I don't think he's ever gone that well. So he's obviously a guy that's really gunning for it this season. Time for him to take a big win, I think, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him push Peter Sagan on tomorrow's stage into Arezzo with that slightly hilly finish, slight uphill finish, which we saw Sagan win last year. But it has changed things dramatically, Carlton, hasn't it, having the prologue instead of the team time trial. As you said, Quintana would probably be in a great position right now after a team time trial because he's got some very, very strong teammates in that discipline. Likewise, Contador, I'm sure he would be a bit further up and conceding less time had there been a team time trial. The worst off, I would say, is Rodriguez. He finished yesterday in 132nd position at 31 seconds. And poor old Carlos Betancourt, 172nd. He lost a full 48, sorry, in just 5.4 kilometres yesterday.
Rigoberto Urán, of all the favourites, went best, 10 seconds down, and found himself in a decent position. He was, for those of you who did go for him as a reasonable outside bet to do well here, well, you've forgotten that he does generally tend to come out of the winter better than most. He clearly puts in the training he needs to, and he's in reasonable form, Urán, and it may well be that we have a shifting of strategy, albeit that, of course, Mark Cavendish is not feeling too well. We've already mentioned that, and he's done it himself at the top of the programme. So maybe a focus just drifting a little bit. We shall see. Ethics Quick-Step have options. It's not just about sprinting for Mark Cavendish. Urán could be a surprise here. It would be a great result for him. He did well.
Yeah, he's obviously already won the Colombian National Time Trial Championships. We mentioned yesterday how much his time trialling came on the last couple of years, really storming to victory in the long individual time trial at last year's Giro. Oh, Brent Brookwater having a little bit of trouble there.
He couldn't get the last one in and thought, stuff it, I'll come back when I've delivered everything else. Bless him. Can be a struggle just to maintain your balance, especially when the pace is like this. It's reasonably high, even as we are now, Dan. It's going to get quicker.
Yeah, it certainly will do to have a crosswind for a little while, but across headwind. It's going to be slightly slow coming in towards the circuits. They do go into a headwind there, but yeah, once they get onto these circuits, everyone's so fresh, of course, still in this peloton. Pretty much day one of racing, really. Yesterday wouldn't have taken much out of any of these guys, so everyone will be fresh, everyone will be motivated, and that's, of course, combined with wind, makes for a very nervous peloton indeed. There's no elevation difference at all to really kind of string things out. Not really very many corners either. I think it will be carnage, actually, coming into the last 10 Ks today because of that headwind. It'll be spread across the road. No one's going to want to give an inch. Everybody's going to want to move up, and that's, of course, when you get the crashes and people hitting the deck.
About 55 kilometers left to go in stage 2. We're here with the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. As you can see, the blue jersey group about 2 minutes behind the leaders. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back on Bein Sports. About 100 kilometers already in the books from today's stage. Adriano Malori was your stage 1 winner, holds the blue and red jerseys. Peter Sagan is your current white jersey holder. Let's send it back down to your race commentary crew. It's Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd.
Davide Formolo, we mentioned him yesterday, the youngster from Cannondale Garmin, 114th. My outside tip before the start going very well, 116th. And Joaquin Rodriguez, as we've already mentioned, 132nd at 31 seconds down. Lawrence 10 down, quite a long way down the order, but that was to be expected because he, of course, crashed at the World at Andalusia just a few weeks ago and had to take some time off the bike. And he tweeting last night, at least I know there's room for improvement.
Yes, likewise you with your tips. Thanks very much for the heads up on Formolo. Yeah, should have kept my 50p in my pocket.
Wait for the climbs.
All right. There's others that need to make up the gap as well. Alberto Contador was head down yesterday. Do you think the shaky start that he had, he clearly jumped his departure time very briefly. The holder wasn't ready. He did go early. The counter's finger was still horizontal before it tipped up to the sky, which is your traditional indication of your start. And there's a beep as well. So jumped it a little bit. Looked shaky off the ramp. And did he let his shoulders drop a bit?
I really don't know what happened to Bertie yesterday. He just he wasn't on it, and of course it's really accentuated if you're not on it in such a short event, which is so intense. It was certainly not the Alberto Contador that we would have expected to see yesterday. He's not a prologue specialist, but as we mentioned on numerous occasions yesterday, he has won them in the past. So to be right down there where he was a surprise. But quite good for us, I think. I think it leaves a lot for him to do. He's going to have to attack, although, of course, he's not a rider shy of doing that anyway. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes for the rest of this race. Of course, the first race he's done with Peter Sagan as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they work on a stage like tomorrow, which is perfectly suited to Sagan. Presumably he'll get a little bit of protection, but they'll want to keep Contador right up there as well, because it is a stage where you can see some time gaps towards the finish if you're not right up towards the front.
Betancourt, he gave away 48 seconds yesterday, and he obviously gave away the diet plan before he came off the ramp. What has happened to that man?
I really don't know. He's incredibly inconsistent, isn't he? He's you know, he came into last season really overweight in the Tour de San Luis, and everyone was like, what on earth was happening to him? And then he won, I think, was it Tour de Med or Hout Var at least, and Paris-Nice just afterwards. He's incredible talent. You know, to go from being that unfit to winning a race of that level is just incredible, really. But yeah, he's not looking very good this year so far.
No, he does have he's not averse to posting a disappearing act as well, I'm afraid. He did go missing. His team were sort of looking for him, sort of headed home and to Colombia and just took some time off. Hit the burritos, I think. 50.4 kilometers to go. It's 1:46 now. I think everyone's just about had enough of this. They may let them hang, but the way we're eating up the road, it looks like the pace has been knocked off as well by those in the break. And yeah, just, well, they're still trying to roll and indeed fight the wind. You can hear, look at the crosswind, the flags absolutely on the staffs quivering.
Yeah, this that point with 52 k's to go. Of course, this breakaway kilometre or so ahead of the main bunch. That right turn there, you do go into quite a severe crosswind, but it's fairly short-lived. This road here now just gradually goes around to the right, enough to kind of give it a bit more of a headwind. And as I said, then you've just got a bit more shelter. It's less likely to split. But it'd be interesting to see some pictures from the bunch and exactly how hard they're going. I think there's you know, a lot of riders and teams are going to be protecting their guys, so they'll be spread across the road trying to make sure they're not caught out in any splits.
Norm the Gnome has written in. He's busy in Colorado. Beautiful part of the world, Norm. I wonder how big the gnomes are over there. Nonetheless, good to have your company. He says he's very much enjoying The expert and entertaining commentary, that's obviously from my side.
I was going to say, he's probably enjoying yours as well.
Do you see how I got the dig in early?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to steal the thunder somehow. If you'd like to join the conversation along with Norm the Gnome, then feel free to do so. It's at Carlton Kirby, or indeed at Daniel Lloyd 1, DANIELLLOYD, and then the number 1. He wasn't quick enough to get just straight old Daniel Lloyd, so remember the 1, otherwise some other Daniel Lloyd gets all your cycling questions. Just under 1:40 now, and nice and relaxed, as you can see. Italian champion road racer. It is, of course, Vincenzo Nibali, Tour de France champion. He didn't look too bad yesterday.
No, as I said, he did a great ride, really. He's, you know, certainly not a time trial specialist, but he was right up there with Uran, 21st place on the day. So, no, he looks to be in reasonable condition. This is a race, of course, which he's won in the past, but that was when he was preparing for the Giro d'Italia rather than the Tour de France, which he did last year, and, of course, this year as well.
Just listening in and see what we can hear, and it's not much. The wind is hampering our audio at the moment. Goodness me,
this is an old school trick. Wind coming from the right-hand side, so the sports director gives them a little bit of a chat while sheltering them from the wind.
There we are. Top secrets. Yeah, if you can't engage a sticky bottle because the camera's there, just have a chat about anything and everything. How do you want your burger cooked tonight? Incidentally, we went for a burger last night. Not very Italian, I must admit, but absolutely superb. What was the name of the place?
Fan Cool.
Right, we won't repeat that.
PHANKOOL in Cashew, if everyone is ever here. Thoroughly recommended.
Yes, indeed. In fact, out of 48 restaurants, TripAdvisor said it was number 2, and it turned out to be. It was absolutely super.
Yeah, we didn't realise it was in reverse.
1 hour 36. No, 1 minute and 36. Less than that now. It's 95 seconds only. The pack are coming. Yes, Francis Desjeux, the old gaming company. And what are they up to today? Well, they've got Thibaut Pinot as their sort of anchor of the team here.
He did okay yesterday as well for him.
Morabito just having a chat, but not really much of an impact, I wouldn't have thought, today when it comes to the sprint. In fact, there are very few teams, and I suspect perhaps even fewer if you knock out Mark Cavendish as being 100%. He's had a bit of a tummy upset. It hasn't been pretty, apparently. Mark Cavendish as well, having to open a window on a regular basis. Mark Renshaw, I beg your pardon. So the two Marks not feeling absolutely 100%. And Cav saying it's the explosive side of his game which is missing. And that's going to be vital today to just stay clear and out of trouble, frankly, isn't it?
Yeah, after so many explosions over the last few days. He's lost it.
I think we'll leave that hanging in the air. Somebody will strike a match. 47.2 kilometres to go. Minute and 34 is the gap. And dexterous use of the elastoplast. There we are. Stick your crucial points down to ever remind you of where you need to be.
About 47 kilometers left to go in today's stage. Stage 2 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico here on Bein Sports. There's still a 7-man lead group with a 1.5 minute gap between them and the rest of the peloton. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back on Bein Sports.
Yesterday at the finish, after he'd won the stage, and I saw Peter Sagan come round, and I thought, oh, he must be here for a doping control. Then he sat down. I wonder what he's here for then. He's still a young rider. I remember him winning stages in Paris-Nice back in, was it 2010, I think it was. First burst on the scene. So it feels like he's been around forever, and he's still a young rider. 1990 he was born in, so 25 years old or thereabouts.
Goodness me. So
you had good on maths, is it?
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, give yourself a little gold star. Yes, Peter Sagan. 25 years of age, so just under the radar. 26th of January 1990. Well, there you are. So still works. Yeah, we talk about the Sagan era, and maybe that he's on the wane, but he's got plenty of time to re-find it, for goodness sake. He won't be at his physical peak until he's 28, so everybody be very scared. Vasyl Kirienka mighty powerhouse. He's such a useful character, isn't he?
Oh, he's just a huge engine, isn't he? What a reliable rider this man is for teammates. Has been for so many years, of course, coming over from Movistar as well. Just the kind of rider you want by your side if you're a general classification rider, or maybe not even by your side, but in front of you. He can just motor along all day at an incredible pace and pull off some good results himself too. I think he's won stages of the Giro and the Tour himself, I believe.
Well, yeah, he does make a break occasionally, but often, because he is so reliable, he's a sort of, he's kind of the BMW diesel of the team, I think it's fair to say. But occasionally he's given his head, he's allowed to go for it, and when those situations occur, he does, and occasionally brings great success. Ethics Quickstep, no surprise to see them being leaned on today, and Movistar, of course, with the leaders' jersey. So as predicted, those two teams doing much of the chasing today.
Yeah, Movistar not really doing the chasing at the moment. They're just kind of protecting Mallory there on your left-hand side of your screen in the blue jersey, making sure that he's not caught out in any problems whatsoever on this run into our circuits, which they'll be on very, very shortly, in fact. A quick rundown of exactly who's here for Ethics Quickstep. They're kind of split a little bit between GC riders and sprinters and lead-out men. Uran is their number one, number 71, in fact, and he's supported by the Italian Brambilla, who you may well remember from that punch-up he had. Was that the Vuelta a España last year, where they got thrown out, him and...
Yes, it was the worst bit of boxing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe the Girl Guides have issued a badge now for that sort of display.
But the rest of the team is very, very strong indeed. They've got Renshaw as, of course, last man. Sabatini will be second last. Stibar, who's well, pretty good at everything he puts his hands to. Terpstra, who can really motor over a couple of kilometres, and Julian Vermont, who's the rider who's been doing the most of the work on the front for them so far.
Nice little view, some carbon forks there. Dan Lloyd's messing around with the bike at the moment. Nice that teams are prepared to lend you their machinery still.
Yeah, it's one of those things inside the peloton. You make some friends, and you know, there's still a couple of people that surprisingly seem to like me and have lent me a bike. So I'm going along with a BMC bike for the next few days.
Happy with it?
Yeah, it's very nice. It's got electronic gears. It's got all the mod cons. 2 bottle cages.
Ashtray? No, don't need that anymore.
I haven't got the fancy wheels though, which none of these riders actually do use when they're training. Just got the standard Dura, so it's still top of the range, but the aluminium wheels so that I can easily change a puncture if it's needed. I haven't got team car backup, unfortunately.
All right, so it's not a complaint.
Well, it's just a minor gripe.
42.1 kilometres to go. It's 1:41, and we have our breakaway. They've had about, what, 6.5 minutes as a maximum, but they've been sharing the spoils as far as the intermediate sprints and the climbs are concerned. But it's destined to come down to one heck of a sprint finish today. It's the first day of racing proper on the Tirreno-Adriatico.
It's now the circuit then, pretty much. They'll be crossing our finish line for the first time in just over 1 kilometre's time. This very much a tailwind section, so it is going to be extremely fast when they come here on the very final lap into this sprint finish. Quite a flat road, not too many curves in it, and you know, wide as well, so we're not going to get any problems from that point of view. This breakaway is likely to be caught. 1:32 their gap here at the moment. Slightly bigger breakaway, Carlton, than we've seen on this stage the last couple of times. Here's an intermediate sprint coming up now. Looks like Kites are going for it. He's the best placed in the general classification of this breakaway. 11 seconds down, so he'll be trying to get 3 seconds.
Well, it looks like he's going to get it. Just edged at the line, perhaps. In fact, he was just beaten, and very, very good spirited effort as well. And it was Weiss that just nicked it at the line. There'll be some words after that, but, you know, all's fair in love and sprinting, as they say. And 41 kilometres to go. We're on this town circuit. The catch will be made then within the buildings, one would have thought, and you're going to get your first look at the approach, and the crowd just edging in. Not good, and one of the photographers should have known better, frankly, than just to narrow the approach that they have. So they'll do this little shimmy. It's quite a nice circuit that we are upon. And in fact, they'll be sailing past our commentary position before you know it. So, well, if we were minded to, we'd give you a wave, but we're not minded to.
Yeah, that's. I think I'm going to take a guess and say that Carter was probably second in the first sprint as well. He's been beaten on both of them now by Conrad, who's obviously going for intermediate sprint competition.
Well, we've entered the last 40 kilometers of the race. We are into Cascina, where we will finish on the circuit until the race concludes today. We're in stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico here on Bein Sports. The riders are into the final part of the race, 2 laps around this final 20.6 kilometer circuit in Cascina. Patrick Conrad has taken both intermediate sprints. Danilo Weiss took the first King of the Mountains, Carlos Quintero the second. Let's send it back down to Daniel Lloyd and Carlton Kirby.
He was indeed, and I can tell you right now, he's the chosen man. And when you have Matt Goss, when you've got Tyler Farrar, you've got Bosenhagen, and even Cholek, who might take an early turn, that's one heck of a lead out.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's just one of those things where if you have that many people who think they're in with a chance, it's, you know, you can say that you're fully committed, but when you've got it in the back of your head that you too could get a good position on the stage, it's sometimes you find that there isn't that full commitment where you might, you know, there's no doubt in Ethics Quickstep who the fast man is. It's Mark Cavendish. He's the most successful rider and sprinter of it, or successful sprinter of his generation, maybe even of all time. And what that means is you've got absolutely 100% commitment from all of your teammates, even when you've been slightly ill, as Mark Cavendish has been.
Doesn't matter how great you are as a sprinter, it can always go wrong. Just look at Marcel Kittel last year. Got it wrong on an approach here, on a roundabout, slightly downhill section, clipped it, came off his bike, and then picked the bike up and hurled it, all sort of, what, $15,000 worth of it, slamming on the deck, possibly a bit more. It was such bad PR, but he turned it into an amazing PR coup by having his photograph taken, giving his bike flowers and saying, in any passionate relationship, you have your disagreements. And he apologized to his bike. The picture went viral, and of course all was forgiven. And the team went from absolute outrage at him destroying his equipment to thinking, thank goodness for that. It was an amazing little PR coup, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was talking about how good making up was.
So Palucchi it was that won last year, ahead of Damar and Andre Greipel, who this year is doing his stuff rather successfully on the Paris-Nice. Race, of course, that sits alongside the Tirreno-Adriatico in terms of the calendar. The Tirreno, of course, has attracted more big names over the years. These things do have a momentum to them, and it seems that the Tirreno-Adriatico has been, more often than not, at least of late, the favoured race, particularly amongst the GC guys, but it's drawn in some top quality sprinters as well. It's a fantastic lineup, albeit that we, of course, don't have Kittel because of illness, and Froome likewise.
Yeah, it's a really great field. You know, there'll be some young riders here who are in awe of the riders that they're alongside in this peloton here at Tirreno-Adriatico. You know, to have the winners of all 3 of the Grand Tours last year in one peloton is quite something. I would imagine hasn't happened too many times in the recent era.
No, and I imagine it might be quite irksome as well to those in charge of the Paris-Nice, to be honest, that the great race, it's a phenomenal race, and still, of course, has its place amongst the Parthenon of great races. It must have been slightly galling to see the GC boys going elsewhere, but the Paris-Nice is a race that builds itself as a series of classics, and this perhaps a bit more of a GC warm-up for the Grand Tours still to come. So it's a question of character, and that character can change, as we know, any year. Martin Keitzer has been going for the intermediate sprints. He's been denied on a couple of occasions, and he'll be a little bit aggrieved by that. Weiss has picked up the bonus seconds. Weiss coming into today 15 seconds down, and I guess if he gets a decent finishing position today, that will help him. Here's your altimetry. This is where we are. 35.9 kilometers to go. This is spinning through very quickly, Dan.
Yeah, it is. They'll be going quicker and quicker as this circuit continues as well. Just to remind you, 2 laps of 20.6 Ks. This part of the circuit very sheltered through quite an urban area here. It won't be long now until they take a right-hand turn which they'll be on the same direction for around about 2 or 3 kilometres. In fact, I think this breakaway group is already there. You can see now the wind coming from the right-hand side. Danilo Vis just trying to encourage the rest of the breakaway to continue working. There is that right turn for the peloton. They'll make another right turn in 3 kilometres time, and then they'll be into more of a headwind, slightly more countryside where they're going to be in a few moments time, but still reasonably sheltered. I don't think the headwind's going to make too much difference. And then they'll get their first glimpse of that corner that we've talked about before, with 4.5 kilometres to go. They take a right-hand turn there. That is a place where I wonder whether the wind will play a part in proceedings on the last lap.
34 kilometers from the end of stage 2 here at the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. You're watching Bein Sports. Gap now down to a minute between the blue jersey group and the 7 men who broke away very early on in today's race. Ethics Quickstep is at the front of the peloton. Perhaps Mark Cavendish might be one to watch. After all, we send it down to Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd for an update on the race.
And Kreuziger, also part of their thoughts. Should things not function as expected for Contador when it comes to the mountains? We will be heading to the mountains, albeit via a puncheur's day tomorrow. That will be Arezzo, one of my favourite stages, actually, by the looks of it. Mainly because it's so unpredictable with that little horrible ramp that they've got to deal with at the end of 5 laps.
Yeah, so narrow, the entry into that little climb as well. I seem to remember it's around about 1.5 k long. Nothing too steep, but certainly something which, you know, is probably not to Mark Cavendish's liking. So it does give an opportunity to some different riders. Sagan will once again be up there, I'm sure. Cancellara for me, an interesting one tomorrow. He won a stage in Oman recently from a small group, but you know, the Swiss rider, when he's determined, he can sprint with the best of them on a climb like that. So I think he might be trying to go for it. Of course, he's got a chance of going into the leader's jersey. At just 1 second, Cancellara from Mallory. So yeah, he might well give it a go tomorrow.
Town sited in Dante's Inferno, Caprona. I seem to remember stopping for lunch here and going for a barbecue, which seems appropriate. In fact, it was, yes, it was here. Long time ago with a man called Elvis. Well, that's what we called him anyway. Out front, our breakaway. Not exactly losing heart, but frankly, I think they've done their job. They've taken the mountains jersey amongst them. And of course, they found the bonus seconds along the way. But they know with a gap of just a minute, especially when the terrain opens up such as this, 32 kilometers to go, it's curtains for the break.
Yeah, I think I decided that Danilo Vis will be the rider who's in the mountains jersey at the finish today, so long as he finishes in the same bunch as his closest rival in that competition. He and Quintero are going to be on equal points, having both won one mountain each, and the other guy in second place. So yeah, I think Vis will be standing on the podium later today, and I'll try and grab a word of him at the end.
So, easing. This is, I always think about 30 or so kilometres out, it's there's still an awful lot of work to be done. And I think more nerves at this point. It gets a bit more instinctive later on. But at this point, you're wondering about your strategy and that of your the other teams around you.
Yeah, it's a funny one, the first day of a race such as this. You know, lots riding on this. It's a World Tour race. You know, people want to get points. People want to get on television. And so there will be nerves, particularly on the last lap and at this section of the course when they'll be looking into coming into the last 10 Ks. Incredible riding, actually, by Julien Villemot there from Ethics Quickstep. And from what I've seen so far, he's pretty much the only rider who's been doing the work on the front of that team, chasing a group of 7. That's the place where they'll have to watch next time through. Separation of the road there in the middle, just causing a few troubles as the riders funnel through. And they'll be even more nervous next time, but at least they will have seen the circuit once already.
Yes, it won't be it will still come as a rude surprise. I think for some, getting guided through that sort of obstacle is essential. We've got a little bit of a breakdown amongst our breakaway here. Just deciding clearly that had enough. If we're going to get caught, then I'm going to make sure that I'm the last man to do so. I don't think there is a combativity award, but you don't wear a red number the following day. But nonetheless, bit of press for Zardini. Wouldn't go amiss. Zardini, of course, took stage on the Tour of Britain and took some big scalps. In fact, I'm missing my mind at the the moment.
No, you're right. He won a stage of the Tour of Britain. But he also won a stage of the Giro del Trentino last year.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking, have I misread this, or misremembered this? But yeah, he did. Was it the Tumbler? Anyway, I'll go back to it. I'll find out for you. 30.2 kilometres to go. Under a minute now for the breakaway. They've had their fun. They've got themselves a Mountains jersey amongst them. But the 7 brave souls have now found themselves in the sights of the marksman behind them. And it's going to be one heck of a battle at the end. The wind is blowing. It's northeasterly. It's chilly. But believe me, it is going to get absolutely white hot in terms of pace and indeed drama, because there are so many sprint options. In fact, when you draw a little pink marker on those who may contest the sprint, it's not just Cav and Renshaw out there. Palucci's got history here. He's won. We've got Madola from Lampre. Ruffoni is a good outside bet for Bardiani. Danny Oss is going well, might engine it and go for an early one. We've got Sam Bennett as well, the Irishman, who took a stage in Qatar. I'd love to see him go well for Bora.
Yeah, he's a punchy rider, is Sam, and he can also get over the climbs. Tomorrow might even be something for him. I remember him winning that stage of the Tour of Britain a couple of years ago, which went over Kefili Mountain. So, you know, that's a serious 5-minute climb, quite steep, and he went over it twice. Got into a group of around about 25 and out-sprinted them all for the victory. But much different win for him in Qatar. That was against an entire bunch on Pan flat stage, and yeah, beat some big name sprinters there as well, I think.
We're in the final circuit in Cascina here, stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports. We'll take another quick break. We'll be back to the action in just a moment. Well, the pace of the race has kicked out to an average speed of 42 kilometers per hour, so they're really hauling butt down there. 27 kilometers left to go before the end of the race. 1 minute separating the lead group of 7 riders between them and the peloton. Back down to the race now. Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd have your call.
Still led by Ethics Quickstep, and still led, from what I can see, by one solo man from the team. Julien Vermont pretty much chasing the breakaway down on his own.
Look at this. Talk about making your intentions absolutely crystal clear. Ethics Quickstep have done a lot of work today. I'm not saying it's the most challenging terrain, but nonetheless, you have to put in the effort, buying the right to fight, and they certainly have done that. They put their deposit down. There's MTN Quebecer with the big Q upon their back. They were apparently going to put the first initial of everyone's first name upon their back, but it fell foul of some kind of jersey regulation within the UCI, which says there has to be a constant so that you can tell who's who within the team. I Am Cycling as well. They had I Am and then their name. I am Matteo, I am Marcel, I am Stefan, whatever. And that was also poo-pooed, I'm afraid. I quite like that idea.
Yeah, I thought they looked great, all those jerseys.
Anyway.
Yeah, so it does certainly feel a little bit like another UCI decision, which is a kind of an archaic decision, I think you might say. You know, especially the IAM cycling ones, like you said, it just looked right. A great play on words for the sponsor, really, and you know, they've still got their names on the back. They're slightly smaller, they're slightly more divided between the name and the sponsor's name, but you know, what difference does it make, really?
Well, clearly enough. So, we just had a look a few moments ago at Lawrence 10 Dam. The breakaway has been eaten into. Can't see the remnants of it lasting that long, although Colombia determined to at least add something to the distance today within the break. 25.5 kilometers to go. We're on the final circuit, incidentally, and so when we finally come back into town and cross the line, It'll be a lot different pace-wise than you're seeing right now. Big rangy figure of Godin. I'm always surprised at how big he is for 82 à la Mondiale.
Huge shoulders.
Yeah, yeah, he's looks like a hod carrier. That's somebody who works with bricks. It's like Dan. I'm moving on. 1 minute, just passed by a big ossuary, by the way. It's where you keep bones. Minute is the gap. And yeah, the pennant men working well today. Always a nervous time, I think, for the men. I noticed he had a hugely padded jersey on there just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's a bit dangerous sometimes. Of course, you're blind in the peloton a lot of the time, unless you're particularly tall. They all stand there with their whistles blowing as loud as they possibly can to warn the riders of an upcoming hazard. But if one rider does get it wrong, then of course it's the marshal who gets it in the neck or wherever on the body they hit him.
Just looking at Jens Debescher, and although they're saying Van den Broek, it's Debescher that we are homing in on. He's the Belgian champion, or at least to our minds anyway. They just adjust themselves. Jens Debescher could be a feature today. He goes quickly.
I think he'll be their protected rider for the sprints today. They've got Jürgen Ruhlens, who's kind of taken a back seat for the time being in terms of lead-outs. He's asked the team if he can focus solely on himself and preparation for the Spring Classics and the Cobbled Classics in particular. But yeah, Debescher, very, very fast indeed. Beat Tom Bonen, amongst others, to win that Belgian title last year in a bunch sprint finish. So he'll be giving it a go towards the end as well.
He's got Pim Ligdart and Rollins, and they're going to make a big turn here. Is it traversing the river? I'm not quite sure.
It's not quite the turn I thought it was going to be. They'll hit a roundabout very, very shortly, if they haven't done so already. And that's when they make that right-hand turn. Yeah, here we go. This right-hand turn here for me is interesting. It's just goes slightly around to the right. It opens out here, and now you'll see that the wind is coming from the left-hand side, unless it's dropped since I was riding there this morning. And I think on the last lap, when the speeds are very, very high, it could cause some problems for the riders further back and make it very difficult to move up, because from this point onwards, it's either a cross tailwind or a full tailwind, so it's going to be extremely fast this time on the next lap.
Looking forward to it, to be honest. Might look as though there's a lot of space to play with, but whenever there's any kind of kink in the road, there's a quickest line through, and everyone is minded to take it. The bridge itself is a bit of a squeeze, as you can see, as in squeezing a bit of toothpaste, and those out front just form going 2 by 2 at the moment. There are some pinch points on the approach. Dan, where would you say the most dangerous element is?
Well, it's pretty wide. There's one roundabout with around about 2 kilometres to go, I think, and it's a slightly bumpy surface. The tarmac seems to have concertinaed up a little bit, which won't cause any problems this time. When you're at full pelt, which they will be next time through, could catch somebody out. There's no real pinch points, I wouldn't say, on this circuit. It's a fairly simple one, quite wide roads for the most part, so I don't envisage too many problems for them.
Down to the last 23 kilometers of today's race. Eduardo Zardini, Carlos Quintaro, and Cristiano Salerno are the 3 riders out in front right now. Patrick Conrad, Danilo Weiss, Martin Kaiser, and Jorge Camilo have fallen off just a little bit back toward the peloton. We're coming toward the last lap of the circuit in Cascina. We'll be right back on Bein Sports. Riders heading in toward the final lap of the day on the Cascina circuit, which will close out today's stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. We send it back down to Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd as the peloton begins to close on the lead group.
Running to the finish with splits, and it could very well split under the impetus of a full lead out from Ethics Quickstep this next time through, because speed's going to be incredibly high here. There is not a roaring tailwind, I wouldn't say, but certainly quite a strong tailwind, so speed's going to be over 60 kilometers per hour for the last 5 Ks or so, 4.5 Ks, and in particular that last 3 Ks, I think they're almost going to be running out of gears. In fact, do you remember the last stage in the Dubai Tour, where Cavendish was having to have a win to get the overall classification under his belt. The speed was so high there, he kind of almost sat down and sprinted, and there was again gaps behind, and no one could kind of get their gears going enough to really do anything in the sprint.
They've dug up or retrieved Neptune's bell. I seem to remember it used to have a dolphin on it. Anyway, we're in the final lap. This is the picture of the breakaway men. 3 riders remaining. You can see the pace on the bottle take. Yes, a last little drink before the 20k to go marker. 3 riders from the breakaway remaining out of 7 that started off today. The gap was about 6.5 minutes. They're just about caught. 44 seconds only is the difference. Best view of the finish is for Ethics Quick Step. They want to get in their mind where the rails are for them, and they will be a lead-out train, most certainly. Mark Renshaw, the great Australian, will be guiding Mark Cavendish, provided both of them are feeling okay. They've had tummy upsets, so it may well be that you have to look elsewhere. And I think another Aussie might have a bit of an input today. Matt Goss, he's supposed to be looking after Spragley, but if it gets ragged, and it will in the wind, old Gossy might have a go. But he's got Eddie Boss, Edvald Bosenhagen, the great Norwegian, and Tyler Farrar with his own team. Told you it was dodgy, and we have had a bump or 2. Riders still static and waiting. Nobody injured. It looks like it was a slow one, but Steph Clement is amongst those who've gone down. He's checking himself. His bike is being checked at the moment. And remember, Kittel last year got it very wrong. He hurled his bike in disgust. A bit of a PR exercise to bought his bike some flowers, as if to say sorry, and retrieve the situation commercially. But this is not what you want to happen, because the pace is so high. These guys essentially are going to be lost, I'm afraid. Vincent Giraud for Team Europe car also caught out, so a couple of Frenchmen aggrieved, and the pace still high, as you can see.
Yeah, still going for it. This trio who remain at the front from the original breakaway of 7 riders. 37 seconds is the gap, as you can see. That will come tumbling down now. There's a replay of the crash. Clement on the floor there. Not too many people involved, fortunately. Here we go. Is that Van Aert by the looks of it? Also requiring a wheel change. He was quite some way down in the prologue yesterday. You might remember him winning a stage of the Tour de France a few years ago up the Plateau de Bein.
18.8 kilometers to go. The race for these guys has just run away from them, I'm afraid, because there's no respite. And this is the reason why. They can't hold back, because the breakaway men are going for it. And so the pack is going to have to chase on. And those who've had a mechanical as part of that little tumble that we've just seen are now finding themselves with quite a gap, unfortunately. Look at that. Pace undiminished. And it's Ethics Quick Step, of course, who are setting it.
Yeah, it's been an incredible performance by young Julien Vermont. Looks to me like might be either Brambilla or Uran on the front at this moment in time. Be a surprise to me if he was. 72 looks like Brambilla to me. So they've added some firepower to this chase now. Just the 2 of them doing the work. They'll save as many riders as possible, of course, to for the final lead-in. Just a little bit of a split after that crash. Interesting to see if any big names have been caught out. However, this is just the back end of the peloton strung out. There's Arashiro, former Japanese champion there. Sam Bennett will be riding, of course, as the leader in the sprint for Bora Argonne 18. Well, and there's Pipa Pozzato.
I think Moreno's actually been caught in this one as well. That won't do his GC hopes any good, and with Rodriguez stalling on the time trial, I think that's a bit of a disaster for Moreno and for Team Katusha. Didn't see whether Porcev was actually caught out within that, but if he hasn't, he's in a good place. But frankly, he could have done with all the help he can get, because this is going to get brutal. You want teammates around you. There, as we dip down, you see the bright yellow of Alberto Contador's Tinkoff Saxo. They are today thinking of Peter Sagan. Sagan traditionally does not like or need teammates around him, and as a result, he's going to have to do it himself.
Yeah, Sagan will be interesting today. He's got a team, of course, who are predominantly built around the GC ambitions of Alberto Contador. And it's the first time that they've raced together so far. Sagan, of course, coming over from Cannondale, where he's been pretty much from the start of his career, making that move over to Tinkoff Saxo. A big money move, in fact, over the winter months. So he'll be having to do a lot of it himself, but that's something we've seen in the past with Peter Sagan on plenty of occasions. He's a man who's used to trying to fight for his own position. It'll be interesting to see whether he does really go for things today, or if he saves himself slightly for tomorrow, which is a stage which suits him absolutely down to the ground.
16.1 kilometers to go. Zardini Quintero, part of this breakaway with 13 seconds now only, Dan Lloyd.
Yeah.
.6 to go. We have 14 seconds only now between the three men up the road and the chasers. This is going to get very lively. It's your big approach right now, and look how they're mobbing the road. It is approach time, and you better get this approach absolutely right, otherwise you are going to be in trouble. So they spread right across the road. Apologies for the gap in transmission. Spreading across the road. Make your approach good, make it count, and this is the big take. Now, forget about the breakaway. It's all about the teams that are behind, and the approach speeds are huge. Big right-hand turn right now, and huge compression, as you can see. And look at that, almost to a standstill on the inside of the curve. That's not where you need to be, and those chasing back on have got no chance of getting back and into the action, I'm afraid. As we head up back out to the fore, it's just a little bit of a hiatus in hostilities, but not much. Look at the manoeuvring. Look at the skirmishing that's going on as well. Bardiani also getting themselves into position. This could be a good push for Bardiani and for Raffoni. Palucci, well, can he repeat the feat that he managed last time by? And a big pickup, just getting Mark Cavendish back into where he should be, and Zdenek Zdibar is just adjusting his position. Movistar hit the front as well, protecting the leader's jersey, and of course Contador is still minded that something might be retrieved later on. Who knows? When it comes to the mountains, you never know what might happen. So, roundabouts have been dealt with. There'll be plenty more to come. Now, just to remind you, with about 4 kilometers to go, 4 kilometers out, we suddenly have that exposure, if you like. There's a big turn, and then you get the trailing wind behind you. So it's a cross tailwind, and it is starting to blow up just a little bit right now. 13.9 to go. Temperatures hovering around that 14 Celsius. It has been all day. It's that northeasterly wind that is giving the advantage for the time being, at least for the quick men. Dan, are you back with us? Got a problem with Dan Lloyd's microphone for the time being, so you'll just have to stick with me. We might have a little bit of swapsy while we're waiting for that, but just forgive us if there is a stall upon it. Dan, your thoughts on the lean-in?
Well, 13.4 Ks to go. This is where things will start to get very interesting indeed. They'll take the right turn that they've just had just then. A few kilometres time, they'll take another right-hand turn, and then it will be predominantly a headwind. There'll be a lot of jostling for position as they come through to that section. I think it's going to be spread across the road. Everyone's going to want to be right at the front. No one's going to give an inch at that particular point. The big crunch point, as I said already, for me, is with 4.5 kilometres to go when they make that right turn away from the headwind into a crosswind, which will turn into a tailwind as they take another right-hand turn with 3 Ks to go. That is really a crucial point. Now on the front we can see Movistar leading the peloton. of course, there defending the race lead of Adriana Mallory, sat there in third place in that blue jersey. This has enabled Ethics Quickstep to take a little bit of a back seat, save all their lead-out men. They'll hope to begin, of course, with Zdenek Stibar and save Sabatini, Renshaw, Terpstra, etc. for the final lead-outs coming in towards the finish. Quintana getting a nice, easy ride there in fourth position as well.
12.5 to go, and a lovely big swoop in this dramatic countryside, as you can see. And Caprona it is. Looking down, Dante's Inferno was written about this very tower. And as we look back down, I seem to remember last year there was a couple of spectators who'd made the trip up to the top of the mountain. In fact, they've done so again, but they look like security men, probably to keep everyone at bay. So, Movistar it is, looking after the blue jersey just for now. I'm just wondering if they've got any proper sprint options today. It's going to be a big ask for them, I'm afraid, especially in this elevated company that we've got. Almost coming to a dead stop with this big turn right now. A lot to be dealt with in terms of street furniture, and they're giving it the due respect that it requires along the way. Only 11.9 to go, and it's a bit of a mess on the approach. It could get messy later as well as the speeds start to pick up. A little bit of a hiatus just for the time being, as you can see, courtesy of the road furniture. But all of a sudden, they're just looking at each other and strategizing, I think, on our final approach.
Well, the speed incredibly high already when you look at the strung out peloton at the back. There was a slight crash there on the right-hand side. One of the Lotto Jumbo NL riders involved in it. A number of the Orica Green Edge riders down as well. Disaster for them. Also, Puccio from Team Sky, one of the national champions on the road. That looks like Svein Tuft. A lot of the Orica Green Edge riders down. Disaster for them.
Absolute disaster. Popovic also on the deck for Trek Factory Racing. So manpower has been muted, at least for some of these teams, and I'm afraid that some of them are actually staying down on the ground at the moment. Goodness me, exactly what you don't want to happen late on, but we said it was going to get brutal today. It's about that approach as well, and it can come from quite far out. Popovic on the deck, just getting himself back up. Paolucci, last year's winner of this stage, is not going to be a part of it this time by, and in fact it's a nightmare for him in terms of his chances. He could have had a good option today, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. Let's have a look. Just a little touch of wheels. We said the constant pace change can have an impact because you get a concertinaing, like a compression. Just takes one person to get it a little bit wrong on an approach. 3 or 4 of the Orica Green Edge boys have also been caught out here, but it looks like without injury, so at least that is a blessing. But what a shame that Paolucci's been knocked out of this one, and that's not a happy sight for anybody, I'm afraid. And Orica Green Edge least of all. I know we've got some fans down in Australia, and that was Jens Maurice, I believe, that got himself caught out.
Jens Maurice, not a happy birthday for him. He's turned 34, I think it is today. Looks like he's suffering with a sprained wrist. Let's hope it's not fractured. Meanwhile, back to the peloton now. We've got teams still scrabbling for position here at the front. I think it's Quickstep just taking a little bit of a back seat again, allowing other riders and teams to take charge. It's something we've seen them do on a number of occasions over the last couple of years, just as I said, to try and save as many people as possible. MTN Quebec also making their way towards the front. Eddie Boss doesn't look like he'll be sprinting today. He's the man who's right at the front there for that team, protecting his team leaders behind.
So, drama and plenty more to come, I'll be bound. Dan, there's a lot at stake at this time of year. There are riders who are on form. There are those who are looking for it. There are teams that are kind of still learning about each other. What lessons will they have learned today? I guess it might well serve them well later on in the season.
Well, Ethics Quickstep are a team, of course, who've got lots of things right and lots of lead-outs right already so far this year. MTN Quebec are completely at the other end of the spectrum. They're a bunch of riders who've got very good results in their own right, but they've very rarely worked together. They've brought together A lot of these guys, Farah, who was a sprint leader at Slipstream, Garmin, etc. for years. Edvald Bosenhagen coming across from Team Sky. So they're going to have to take a little bit of time to learn their roles within the team and decide the best way to do the lead-outs. But 9 kilometres to go. They're getting Tinkoff Saxo up towards the front on two fronts, really, on this occasion. They're trying to protect Alberto Contador, make sure that he remains out of trouble, away from the crashes like we've seen already. But also, of course, today, Peter Sagan will be benefiting from that riding at the front from the Danish team.
Daniel Oss is the man that will be going for BMC. Had a terrific time trial yesterday, and BMC are working to get him into a safe place on the left-hand side of your screen. Lotto also looking quite busy. This is for Jens Debescher. We've lost Palucci due to a crash a little bit earlier on. Sky just refocusing themselves as well, and it'll be Eli Viviani, his diminutive form, that just locks onto Ian Stannard, who's pacing him nicely at the moment. The men in yellow, it's for Alberto Contador, of course, playing the long game, but also Peter Sagan. Can Sagan pull something out of the bag today amongst a whole host of top-end sprinters? I'm not saying he's not one of them on his day. He most certainly can be. Exciting times then as the approach starts to happen right now. Cannondale also working hard just to keep their noses clean for the time being. It's the GC boys who are most concerned, and to the fore now. 8.1 to go. It'll be the sprinters teams that take over the mantle of approach experts before you know it.
Oh, look how close everybody's riding down there in that peloton. Nobody is letting an inch go at all. Here comes Adam Yates being brought back up to the peloton. Disaster for Orica Greenedge to have so many riders come down. He's their GC hope in this race. He lost some time yesterday. Looks to be a little bit hurt today. Some of the riders just waiting for him. They've still got Magnus Cort there, number 141. He's their sprinter for today. He managed to stay on his bike, but he's going to have to do everything himself right now. Team BMC also coming up there in the red jersey on the right-hand side of your screen. What have they got planned? 2 riders in the top 10 yesterday. Both Greg Van Avermaet and Daniel Oss. They're both reasonable sprinters. I wouldn't say they're going to be a patch on the likes of Cavendish, but they can both get a good top 10 on a bunch sprint on their day.
Well, Daniel Weiss as well can turn a wheel occasionally. 7.3 kilometres to go. Huge approach speeds now. When you've got a wide open highway, quite often you get a bagsying of one side of the road or the other. It's a question of vision. But it does leave the centre wide open on occasion, which can be taken advantage of. And these guys just look like they're riding home, to be honest, at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, obviously he must be hurt, Adam Yates. Are they riding home, or are they still connected with this peloton? I think perhaps they're just hanging around at the back right now. It is a headwind, so it does make it a lot easier to sit in than it would be if it was a cross or tailwind. But there you can see the bunch there spread completely across the road. 4.5 Ks to go then. Let's wait for that point. When they'll take the right-hand turn into that crosswind, that's when things are really going to matter, I think.
Lamprey with an option. Sasha Modolo is their quick man, and the men in pink are here. Likewise, the Magpies, the MTN Quebecer. There they are, just looming large right now. And what a feast they can produce of sprinters. They've got Cholik will take an early turn. Edvald Bosenhagen, Tyler Farrar, and of course, Matt Harley-Goss. Yes, it's Brackley, though, apparently they're thinking of today, but I suggest that their options may well be kept open until the very, very last, because this could get messy on the approach. A little bit of a hiatus now. It's not to allow others to get back on. It's a question of assembling your team. And look at that line of giant boys here working for Mezgec, I'll assume, maybe aren't as well.
Well, here is Adam Yates just getting some attention. Looks like he's hit his face very slightly when he crashed just a few kilometres ago. Let's hope he's all right. We'll get a report tonight on exactly how he's feeling. Yeah, he scraped his face down the road there. It's going to be a little bit sore this evening. But yeah, as you said, Carlton, Giant Alpecin with a full complement of riders there. They don't really have a GC rider here at this race. Will they ride for Mezgec? Will they ride for Nicholas Arndt, the young German sprinter who was doing very well in Qatar? They've got 2 guys who can really get up there today. They'll pick one, they'll ride for him. They'll have been discussing things throughout the stage, and they will have decided on the team leader for the day.
Tyler Farrar looks, at least as they're assembled right now, as the protected rider. That would probably be a good choice. 5.3 kilometres to go. left-hand side of the road, you've got Giant and Cannondale just being edged out. Colombia also, bizarrely, in position right now. 5.2 to go, 5.1 now, and it's Movistar looking after the blue leader's jersey, and there is the man who set the time trial alight yesterday, Adriano Mallory. MTN Quebecer looking lively. I think it is going to be Farah for them today.
Yeah, they've got themselves lined up very well, haven't they, there on the right-hand side of the road. Such a distinctive kit. It's very, very easy to pick them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders for MTN on the right there. Coming up to this crucial turn for me now, and they veer around to the right. That's when I expect the speed to get extremely high as the wind changes for them.
Zdeněk Stybar is doing a good job. He's just in front of Mark Cavendish at the moment. Mark Renshaw is within the frame. There is Astana as well. I don't know who they're going to be running for. I think it's just to keep Nibali safe, to be honest. And 4.5 kilometres to go. This is the crucial point. This is where suddenly the wind becomes a cross tail. They make the turn right now. This is your run-in. They knew this was going to be important. Get it right on the approach, and the rest may well just fall into place for you.
Yeah, it's one more turn to come in just a couple of 100 metres. Think of Saxo right up there as well. I'm just trying to hone in and see if I can see the national champion Peter Sagan in the pack here. He must be presumably towards the front, I'd have thought. Jens Debusschere, the Belgian champion, up there in the top 30. But MTN Quebecer bossing this race here at the moment. There is Bosenhagen in front of Gotts, in front of Farah. And I think you're right, Carlton. It seems to be the American that they're working for here today.
Yeah, it's Picky Beard, to be honest. There's a few of them with some face fungus with 3.8 to go. But Farah looks like he is the choice. He's got Matt Goss in front of him. So if anything happens in terms of nudges and blocking, then they've got other options. A great thing for MTN Quebecer to have. They will, of course, be Grand Touring this year, missing out on the Giro, but taking on the Tour de France and the Vuelta. So can the South African team deliver? 3.5 kilometres to go. We're going to find out. Care to pick somebody today, quickly?
I'm going to go for Cav. I think the team's done so much work. He must be feeling pretty good today. He's going to look to make amends for this race, this stage in particular, last year where he didn't manage to get the victory. He's got one teammate on the front. The rest of them are lurking in the top 30. You can see Cavendish, in fact, just on the wheel of one teammate, who is Mark Renshaw. They're just behind that MTN Quebecer train. They do seem to have lost each other just a little bit, Essex Quick Step at the moment.
They have. There's been so much battling for road position. There's not much left. Katusha also wanting to have an interest in today. And that's Porcef they're thinking about. He was good in Dubai, and he's great at positioning himself. Can Porcef deliver once again? I think it's going to be Mezgec, perhaps, of Giant Alpecin. They're in a superb position. They could be working for Arndt, but I think it is Mezgec. And they've got Tobacco as well, who's in a good position. It's very sinuous at the moment. It looks like the pace has knocked out a few teams. Are they out of puff? 2.5 kilometres to go. We're going to have our answer.
Well, MTN Quebecer is still there with quite a number of riders. This is going to be incredibly fast from here towards the finish. 2.3 Ks to go, but you can see the speed. You can see how strong the peloton is there behind. Zdeněk Stybar takes it up at the front, but it's Giant Alpecin riders who's gone on his wheel. He's just checking behind to see where Mark Cavendish is. He's got a glimpse, so he'll keep the pace high now because Cavendish is starting to run out of lead-out men. He's still just got Mark Renshaw in front of him.
Well, Viviani would be my pick for today. He's a fast finisher, but can he get the manpower around him? Big question. He's on form for Team Sky. He's a little man, a whippy man, and he might well have to crack that whip hand, but for the time being, it's MTN Quebecer that are dominating. They're picking this up beautifully. The road does widen here. It's 1.6 to go. Almost a dismissive look from Stybar, who seems to have lost his men. Quebecer don't know. I think it's a surprise to them that they're in this kind of situation. Go for it, boys. If this is your day, then take control of it and use it. 1,400 metres with this little tiny bleed towards the right, and then a couple of shimmies they're going to have as well, Dan.
Yeah, just going to come up into the Flamme Rouge very, very shortly indeed. Some riders trying to gather themselves behind. We haven't seen much of some of the sprinters' teams here. Debusschere trying to make his way towards the front. He's got one Lotto teammate for company, but MTN Quebecer riding like a World Tour team here. Let's not forget they're Pro-Continental, one level down from the rest, but they're riding as well as anybody else here. Edvald Bosenhagen on the front. Zdeněk Stybar from Etix just behind him. Matt Harley-Goss in third place and Tyler Farrar in fourth. There you can see Mark Cavendish in around about 8th position.
Oh, look, and Sagan gets himself into position. So is Mark Cavendish, as you can see. He's just bedded in at the moment behind the Katusha boys. They've taken the graphic away because we're further out than we thought, but this is the approach. Here we are, big charge. It's a long one as well. Oh, plenty of options, and Porsef is looking very, very handy for Katusha here. They weave all over the place. It's Mark Renshaw leading out Mark Cavendish. The pair of them left now, and it's time to go, go, go. Ed Balbozenhagen is still holding on to it. Backos picks up. He's doing this for Tyler Farrar. Farrar looks. He looks again. So does Backos. He's holding on. We've got a man down in the pack from Sky. It's Viviani that's gone. So that customer Sunder. Oh, it's the Belgian champion that hits the front. Superb effort. Weaving all over the road. Derbyshire going to make it. Oh, he does so. What a performance that was from Lotto Soudal. They left it very, very late. But the Belgian tricolour hits the line first as others hit the deck here. Drama on the Tirreno. We knew it may happen, and so it has proven.
That does not look good. Great win from Jens Derbyshire, the Belgian national champion from Lotto Soudal. Probably the biggest race win of his career behind that national championships. But Viviani on the floor, and it's never nice to crash, but when you do so at 70 k's per hour, it is awful.
Carnage. We said it would be dangerous, and that's precisely how it has proven. Tailwind, cross tailwind, lots of options. Sasha Modolo also decked today. I guess when it comes so far to the fore, a crash like that late on, you know it's going to take out some favourites. Modolo in the pink, but anything but in terms of that phrase. He stays on the deck right now. Giant Alpecin also got bitten. That's Nico Arndt, who's been caged at the side of the road. And there's more, but it's Viviani that we are most concerned about. Viviani for Sky taking a big hit. Let's have a look. Derbyshire in the tricolour is about P8 at the moment. We'll get official confirmation of the results. Lots of shoulders going on, lots of options as well, but it was a good lead-in for Derbyshire with Lichtar, I think it was, that was taking him home. And then just snuck in on the inside of Quebecer as they went for this. Farrar lit it up at this point. Derbyshire followed through. There he was. Plenty of options on the other side of the road, and still that's where we saw our victory. But behind were the nearly men, those who were trying to make amends for being out of position. Terrific performance, you've got to say, by Derbyshire. Lovely result for him. The Belgian champion makes one stick. For others, sticking plaster, I'm afraid, and perhaps worse. So Eli Viviani taking a big hit, and here he is. Just looks like he is going to get himself back up. So that being the case, he doesn't look like he's nursing his arms. He's just feeling himself, just checking everything at the moment. Viviani hobbled but not humbled. There we go. Well, thankfully he looks okay. They will check him for concussion. It came late on, so he'll get the same time as the winners, but he would have preferred to stay upright. Here's your approach. Heads on. Gosh, he did have an option as well. It was Viviani that went down, and in so doing, taking Arndt to the deck. Modolo hit Arndt, went right over the top as well. That looked like the worst hit of all. Great retrieval. Salutations to Orica Greenedge. Did a fantastic job to get themselves back in the battle. But in the end, Derbyshire it was that took the victory. And most of the bruises, though, I'm afraid, going to Viviani, Modolo, Arndt and co. So, we knew it was going to be a dramatic end, and perhaps the little page of this chapter should be ripped out by Viviani and put somewhere dark. There it is. Little movement over. Just decked, as you can see. And Mark Cavendish involved. Mark Renshaw just leading in Mark Cavendish. Mark just unclipping. Now watch, that's Mark with Viviani just alongside, and Mark just unclipping, couldn't engage in the sprint, unfortunately. Renshaw as well had done his job, so had run out of batteries at that point. Could have been a good sprint, both for Cav versus Viviani. Didn't quite happen. Derbyshire hits the line. He sends his arm out. And there, you want some arms? That one's also out. Viviani does not look like a contented man, to say the least. It's war out there. Well, here is our winner. As all were cast asunder, one man, head and shoulders. He's a tall man. Dan Lloyd's going to speak to our winner, Jens Derbyshire.
Jens, huge congratulations. That was an incredibly fast finish. Talk us through those last 2 or 3 kilometers.
Yeah, it was really hectic today. The last 5 kilometers, the speed went full gas up, and was really fast, hectic. No one could make a proper lead out, and we managed to punch ourselves inside the quick step train, and I could come out. I have to thank my teammates, especially Roland. He came on the right moment, and he went the sprint perfectly for me.
You've beaten some big names here, so this win must rank quite highly in your career.
Yeah, I think after the Belgian Championship, this is the second nicest victory in my career now.
Great, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Good boy. Belgian champion gets himself a stage win amongst some elevated sprinting company, some of whom ended up deflated, I'm afraid. Peter Sagan coming across the line in second place ahead of Sam Bennett, who went well for Bora Aragon. But a win for the Belgian champion, Jens Derbyshire. What a time he is having. As you heard, greatest win in his career since winning the Belgian championship. So here is the man who came to today as leader.
Adriano, talk us through your day in blue. How was it?
Today was not so easy because there was a lot of stress on the last 70 kilometers, but luckily we stay out from the tree crash on the final, so always good.
So looking towards tomorrow, how do you see things playing out on stage 3?
Tomorrow, for sure, a rider like Sagan, Cancellara or Van Avermaet will take the leader jersey. But now our target is with Nairo, so I'm happy so this today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good boy. They worked hard, very hard indeed. Well, we're just waiting for our official results, and here they are. Derbyshire took it ahead of Peter Sagan, Sam Bennett. Porsoff for Katusha was in the frame. Tyler Farrar there. Kurt Nielsen from Orica Greenedge. Good work, boys. Roger Kluger from IAM. Ruffoni in the frame. Dempster and Mark Renshaw after Mark Cavendish. Just part of the bumps and bruises that characterised the end of today. A lot of potential, unfortunately, just missing out. Mallory stays in touch. Peter Sagan moves to the same time, courtesy of his bonus at the line today. He was 6 seconds down, but got 6 seconds at the line. Derbyshire adds 10 to his individual time trial time, or trims that off. And Sam Bennett as well also picks up the last 4 seconds bonus, 10, 6 and 4 at the line. Mallory then stays in blue. Peter Sagan with an option, and I suggest he may well be our leader after tomorrow. So, what a day.
So at the end of the day, stage 2 goes to Belgian champion Jens de Boucher, who comes across the finish line in a very, very hectic and exciting finish. A crash right at the end of stage 2. A bunch of riders going at about 70 kilometers per hour, and Elia Viviani collides with Mark Cavendish and sending a bunch of riders tumbling to the ground. But in the end, Jens de Boucher finishes out in front. Peter Sagan finishes second. Sam Bennett third. We'll come back with the award ceremony in just a moment. You're watching the Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports. So we've reached the end of stage 2 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. Jens de Boucher comes across the line first, the Belgian champion, finishing in front of what was a chaotic finish. A number of riders going down in the final 500 meters or so of the race. And again, your winner of today's stage, Jens de Boucher.
Viene premiato da Alessandro Ribecchini, assessore allo sport del comune di Cascina. La stretta di mano per il campione nazionale belga, si è imposto lo sprint. Gli applausi del pubblico della Tirreno-Adriatico per Jens de Boucher, Lotto Soudal.
There's a look at your stage results for the day. Peter Sagan finishing in second place. He actually moves into second place in the overall classification as well. Now has the exact same time as Adriano Malori, who will stay in the blue jersey after today's race conclusion. Fabian Cancellara down to third in the overall standings, with Greg Van Avermaet in fourth and Matthias Brandl in fifth. But today's race winner once again, Jens de Boucher of Lotto Soudal.
Lotto Soudal. Signore e signori, il momento della vestizione ufficiale della maglia azzurra destinata al leader della.
Here's a look at the overall standings. Again, Adriano Malori will again stay in the blue jersey. Peter Sagan in second, Cancellara, Van Avermaet, and Matthias Brandl rounding out the top 5. As you get a look there, Bodner, Oss, Navardaskis, Cummings, and Kaiser finish out the top 10. Once again, your blue jersey holder still, even after 2 stages, is Adriano Malori, the Italian rider from Movistar team.
E da Fabio Guazzini, manager di Banca Mediolanum di Pisa, Bonsacco. Signore e signori, questa è la maglia azzurra destinata al leader della classifica generale a tempo. Questo è questo atleta che arriva dalla provincia di Parma, tesserato per Movistar Team. Gli applausi tutti per Adriano Malori.
So Malori stays in the blue. That is 1 jersey down. Peter Sagan will remain in the white jersey as the young rider classification leader. And we'll have the announcement of our points jersey coming up in just a moment. But once again, Adriano Malori, your blue jersey holder, going into stage 3 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. Up next will be the presentation of the points classification jersey. Lloyd probably still has a claim to this as well. Patrick Conrad did gather some points today, winning both intermediate sprints, both the first and the second one. Once again, there's a look at your race winner. Jens Debouchet wins Campiori to Cascina in stage 2 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. Tomorrow will take us from Cascina to Arezzo. It'll be a hilly stage, 203 kilometers, 126.1 miles. Let's send it back down to the podium for some more jersey awards. Once again, the points jersey to be awarded next, the red jersey. Let's send it back down to the podium.
Lotto Sudal verrà premiato da Giorgio Catellani, vice sindaco del comune di Cascina. E il campione nazionale belga oggi ha vinto, indossa la maglia di leader della classifica a punti, Jens Debouchet, Lotto Sudal.
So today's stage winner, Jens Debouchet, goes into the red jersey. He will take that into tomorrow. Here's a look at the course for stage 3 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. That will be tomorrow at the same time. Starts out fairly flat before picking up into the first mountain of the day. That'll be at the San Martino. Progresses, keeps going until the Poggio alla Croce. That will be the second climb of the day. We will join the Casteranco di Sopra. That will be at the beginning of our coverage tomorrow. Of course, there will be a couple of more slight upticks in the road before the end, but nothing too big. Here's a look at the altimetry. And again, most of the climbing done in the first part of the day. There are 2 categorized climbs, but after that, it sort of straightens out. Just a few hills and upticks up and down. Up until the conclusion of the race in Arezzo. And again, tomorrow's stage is considered a hilly stage, 203 kilometers, 126 miles. So, once again, to sum up, a chaotic finish to today's race. Elia Viviani and Mark Cavendish colliding at the end. And the final 500 kilometers were a scramble. But in the end, it was Jens Debouchet who comes out as the stage 2 winner. He will go into the red jersey tomorrow. Adriano Malori, though, a stage 1 winner, will remain in the blue jersey, the overall classification leader, with Peter Sagan holding on to the white. For Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd, I'm Gino Fuentes. Thank you for joining us for today's coverage of the Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports.